and your attention to the situation that threatens peace and stability in South Asia. We witnessed in April this year India's unilateral abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty in gross contravention of international law, especially Article 26 of the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties. Excellencies, but what we are witnessing now is material breaches by India that strike at the heart of Indus Water Treaty, with escalating consequences both for regional stability and sanctity of international law. We have observed unusual, abrupt variations in the flow of Chenab River twice this year, during 30th of April to 21st of May 2025, and in the past week from 7th to 15th of December 2025. These variations in water flow are of extreme concern for Pakistan, as they point to unilateral release of water by India into River Chenab. India has released this water without any prior notification or any data or information sharing with Pakistan as required under the treaty. India's manipulation of water has prompted our Indus Water Commissioner, who is happened to be present here, to write a letter to his Indian counterpart seeking clarification on the matter as provided for under the Indus Water Treaty. More information on this technical aspect will be shared with you by our colleague, Secretary Water Resources of Pakistan, who has joined us for this meeting this evening. But what I would like to specifically stress here is that India's most recent action clearly exemplifies the weaponization of water, to which Pakistan has been consistently drawing attention of the international community. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, India's manipulation of water at a critical time of our agriculture cycle directly threatens the lives and livelihoods as well as food and economic security of our citizens. We expect India to respond to the queries raised by Pakistan's Indus Water Commissioner, refrain from any unilateral manipulation of river flows, and fulfill all its obligations in letter and spirit under the Indus Water Treaty provisions. The recent violations of the treaty by India is just one example. India has consistently attempted to undermine the treaty in a systemic manner. India's construction of hydropower projects such as Kishanganga and Ratle involves design features that blatantly violate treaty's technical specifications. India continues to build illegal dams to sheer disregard of the treaty obligations to impose fait accompli. With building of dams, Indian capacity to store and manipulate water is also increasing, which endangers Pakistan's security, economy, and livelihood of 240 million people of Pakistan. Excellencies, India has also halted sharing the advanced information, hydrological data, and joint oversight required by the treaty, which has exposed Pakistan to floods and droughts, which all of you had witnessed recently. Such illegal and irresponsible Indian conduct has all the potential to trigger a humanitarian crisis in Pakistan. The ongoing water manipulation by India gravely contravenes international human rights and international humanitarian law, while hindering progress on sustainable development goals on poverty and hunger. If India is allowed to violate treaty and obligations of India under the treaty with impunity, we are setting a very dangerous precedent. Alarmingly, India is now subverting the treaty's own dispute resolution mechanism by refusing to participate in the Court of Arbitration and neutral expert proceedings India is pursuing a deliberate strategy to sabotage the well-established arbitration process under the treaty provisions. Pakistan would like to reiterate that Indus Water Treaty is a binding legal instrument that has made an invaluable contribution to peace and stability of South Asia. Its violation, on the one hand, threatens the inviolability of international treaties, and on the other, it poses serious threats to regional peace and security, principles of good neighborhood, and norms that govern interstate relations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Permanent Court of Arbitration, in its recent decision of June and August 2025, reaffirmed the continuing validity of the Indus Water Treaty and its binding dispute resolution mechanisms. These rulings leave no ambiguity. The Indus Water Treaty is alive and its provisions remain binding on the parties. Indian impunity must not be accepted by the international community, to which you all represent. We also take note in this regard the communication by several UN special procedures and mandate holders addressed to India, in which serious legal, human rights and humanitarian concerns have been expressed regarding Indian illegal actions pertaining to Indus Water Treaty. The communication has been made public on 15th of December. On 21st of June, I'm quoting now excerpts from the communication which has been made public on 15th of December. On 21st of June 2025, India's Home Minister declared that India would never restore the treaty and would instead divert waters to India's Rajasthan via a new canal. Number two, in the same report, Pakistan National Security Committee has declared that any attempt to stop or divert the flow of water to Pakistan under the treaty will be considered as an act of war. This was on 24th of April this year. Now I'm quoting again from the report, quote, "We are concerned that India's response to the Pahalgam attack appears to, number one, have violated the rights to life and security of persons as a result of the unlawful use of force on Pakistan's territory, and two, risk violating the rights to work and livelihood and adequate standard of living, including the rights to water and food, and a clean, healthy and sustainable environment and development as a result of the actions that may be taken to disrupt the flow of water to Pakistan under the Indus Water Treaty." On the abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty, the report says, I quote again, "We are deeply concerned that any disruption of the flow of water to Pakistan that may result from holding the Indus Water Treaties in abeyance could severely affect the human rights of millions of people in Pakistan who rely on the river for agriculture, industry, drinking water and sanitation, and healthy ecosystems by undermining their rights to work and livelihood, water, food, and adequate standard of living, a clean and healthy environment, economic self-determination of peoples, and the right to development," unquote. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the international community must take notice of India's continued disregard of a bilateral treaty and counsel India to act responsibly in accordance with international law and established norms. Belligerent statements keep coming from the Indian leadership clearly demonstrate Indian intentions and designs to weaponize water aimed at inflicting harm on Pakistan and its people. We have repeatedly brought this situation to the attention of the UN Security Council, most recently in my letters to the UN Security Council's President on 11th of December 2025. I have similarly written to the UN Secretary General as well as UN President of the General Assembly to play their due role in this regard. Let me reassure you that Pakistan remains committed to peaceful resolution of disputes and issues with India, but will not compromise on the existential water rights of its people. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we urge the international community, especially the UN Security Council members, to take immediate steps to address this situation. We hope that in your national capacities and capabilities, you will call on India for the immediate restoration of the Indus Water Treaty in full, stop weaponization of water, uphold international law and treaty obligations, and refrain from undermining peace and stability of South Asia. I will conclude by saying water is life and cannot be weaponized. I thank you all for joining us this evening.
नायब वज़ीर आज़म मोहम्मद इशाक़ डार की भारतीय आबी जारहियत पर गैर मुल्की और उनकी जानिब से कहा गया कि भारतीय इक़दामात से पाकिस्तान की ग़िज़ाई सलामती को ख़तरा लाहक है। भारत सिंतास मुआहदे के तहत अपनी जिम्मेदारियां पूरी करे। भारत ने अप्रैल 2025 को सिंतास मुआहदा एक तरफा तौर पर मुअत्तल किया। सिंतास मुआहदा जनूबी एशिया में अमन व इस्तेहकाम का अहम ज़रिया है। नायब वज़ीर आज़म व वज़ीर ख़ारजा इशाक़ डार सिफारतकारों को ब्रीफिंग दे रहे थे और उनकी जानिब से कहा गया है कि भारतीय इक़दामात से जनूबी एशिया में अमन व इस्तेहकाम को संगीन खतरात लाहक हैं। इशाक़ डार की जानिब से मज़ीद कहा गया है कि भारतीय इक़दामात से पाकिस्तान की ग़िज़ाई सलामती को खतरा लाहक है। भारत ने अप्रैल 2025 में सिंतास मुआहदा एक तरफा तौर पर मुअत्तल किया और वियना कन्वेंशन के आर्टिकल 26 की खिलाफ वर्जी है। दरियाए चनाब के बहाव में रवा साल 2 मरतबा गैर मामूली तब्दीलियाँ रिकॉर्ड की गई हैं। 30 अप्रैल ta 21 मई और 7 ta 15 दिसंबर 2025 पानी के बहाव में कमी हुई। भारत ने पेश की इत्तला के बगैर दरियाए चनाब में पानी छोड़ा। मुआहदे के तहत जरूरी डेटा और मालूमात पाकिस्तान को फराहम नहीं की गई। इशाक़ डार की जानिब से मजीद कहा गया है कि पाकिस्तान ने इंडस वाटर कमिश्नर के जरिए बाज़ाब्ता सिफारती और कानूनी तकाजे पूरे नहीं किए। भारत का हालिया इकदाम पानी को बतौर हथियार इस्तेमाल करने की वाज़ेह मिसाल है। भारतीय इक़दामात से पाकिस्तान की ग़िज़ाई सलामती को खतरा लाहक है। भारत सिंतास मुआहदे के मुताबिक जिम्मेदारियां पूरी करे। इशाक़ डार की जानिब से मजीद कहा गया है कि भारत ने अप्रैल 2025 को सिंतास मुआहदा एक तरफा तौर पर मुअत्तल किया। सिंतास मुआहदा जनूबी एशिया में अमन व इस्तेहकाम का अहम जरिया है। भारत गैर कानूनी डैमों की तामीर जारी रखे हुए है। नायब वज़ीर आज़म की जानिब से कहा गया है कि डैमों की तामीर से भारत की पानी ज़ख़ीरा करने की सलाहियत और इसका गैर कानूनी इस्तेमाल होगा। भारतीय इक़दामात पाकिस्तान की सलामती, मईशत और लोगों की जिंदगियों के लिए खतरा है। भारत ने हाइड्रोलॉजिकल डेटा और मुश्तरका निगरानी का अमल रोक रखा है। भारतीय इक़दामात पर पाकिस्तान को सैलाब और खुशसाली के खतरात से दो चार होना पड़ा। भारतीय आबी इक़दामात इंसानी बहरान को जन्म देने की सलाहियत रखते हैं। सिंतास मुआहिदा जनूबी एशिया में अमन व इस्तेहकाम का अहम जरिया है। भारत की जानिब से तनाज़ात के हल से फरार आलमी कवानीन की नफ़ी है। जून और अगस्त 2025 में सालिसी अदालत ने सिंतास मुआहिदे की हैसियत बरकरार करार दी। सिंतास मुआहिदा नाफिजुल अमल और फरीक़ैन पर इसकी पासदारी लाजिम है। नायब वज़ीर आज़म ने कहा कि अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा के ख़ुसूसी तरीक़ाकार ने भारतीय इक़दामात पर तशवीश ज़ाहिर की है।